Jack.
Levi.
The Book Club from Hell.
Hello everyone, this is Jack with the Book Club from Hell, spacefaring alien life forms who are interested in peace, trade and human television programs. This episode, we're talking about Moon People, written by Dale Courtney and published in 2008. A science fiction novella, Moon People is full of bizarre plotting, unsettling characters, strange punctuation, spelling and formatting, and a lot of energy. It's also a surprisingly fun read, something like a science fiction Eye of Argon, minus the purple prose. I actually had a very good time reading this one. Alright, chilling time. If you like what we're doing with this podcast and want to support us, we have a Patreon account, the link to which is in the show notes. We release bonus episodes on Patreon, and you can hear upcoming episodes early, and we have weekly voice chats with our subscribers. I've also published a novel called Tower, the first few chapters of which are available for free on my Substack, the link to which is in the show notes. We also have a Discord server for this podcast, on which you can find Levi, me, and plenty of other degenerates who listen to the Book Club from Hell, the link to which is once again in the show notes. So, if you're ready to respond to history-altering events with a nonchalant, yeah, cool, then listen on. Enjoy. Moon People by Dale Courtney is sci-fi Eye of Argon. With less purple prose, it doesn't have the mind-bending prose of Jim Tice, The Eye of Argon. It feels like a short sci-fi novella written by an alien. It's very strange, but it's very strange in quite consistent ways, which it feels like if an alien species were observing humans over an extended period and decided to reconstruct some of our cultural artifacts. One cultural artifact, in fact, a science fiction novel. And they're maybe 95% of the way there with their observations of how human beings interact with each other, but that final 5% that they missed makes everything feel very odd. This is a very strange book. One that I did actually enjoy, even though it does have its flaws. I picked this book because I'd heard that it was a notoriously bad science fiction novel. Having read it, I think that's unfair because it's so odd that I enjoyed myself and I would recommend this to other people so long as they know what they're getting into. What about you? Before, we'll get into how you feel about this book at length over the course of the episode, but in short, does that sound roughly like your experience?
Yeah, I actually found it endearing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There was something about it. It really did remind me of the Eye of Argon. There's this guy from southern Florida or whatever. Shout out to J-Man and the other Floridians on the Discord server. That he just really likes sci-fi. Yeah, sure, he's not a great writer, but it was kind of endearing, his sort of naive love of the genre and just willingness to just write what he wanted. And also he kept on saying at the end of the book and in the opening blurb, thank you for taking the time to read this book. God bless.
Yeah, he sounds like a very nice person.
Very polite person who really likes sci-fi.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
kind
where childishness to it. I don't know.
Yeah, it does have a childishness to it. You saying how it is obviously he loves sci-fi. That's where it comes closest to the Eye of Argon. In that the Eye of Argon was some 16-year-old Jim Tice who just loved fantasy and wrote what actually is a really fantastic and memorable fantasy story about Grigna the Barbarian being an absolute loose unit. And similarly, Moon People by Dale Courtney. Dale Courtney obviously just loves science fiction. Moon People has 2 sequels. There's one on Mars and one on Venus. He loves science fiction, and instead of just being a spectator, he went out and wrote the Moon People trilogy, of which we've only read one. I need a bit of time to to process before going on to the other Moon People books, because it's just a very odd book for a number of reasons. I think we'll spend most of the episode dissecting why this book feels so odd.
Moon People 2 and Moon People 3 have substantially higher ratings on Amazon, though.
Yeah, because Moon People 1 is the filter. Moon People 1, it has 140-something ratings on Amazon. So that's actually pretty good. That's way more than my book has. Like, significantly more than my book has. So shout out to Dale Courtney for making it work. So Moon People 1, it's the entry point. So a lot of people come in and they can't quite get what Courtney's doing here. But Moon People 2 and 3, only those who understood Moon People 1, who can appreciate it for what it is, will go on to 2 and 3. So I expect that's a big part of the reason why those books have higher ratings. I flicked through reviews of Moon People 3, and a lot of the reviews note the same things about Moon People 1 that reviewers of Moon People 1 didn't like, in that it's full of bizarre spelling. The formatting's kind of weird. He doesn't use quotation marks to denote speech. He'll sometimes chuck them in, but not in a place that makes it easier to read. All of that is retained in Moon People 3, apparently, but just the faithful. It's the faithful are the only ones reading Moon People 3.
That's a good way to write a trilogy. Just filter out all of the unfaithful with the first book.
He has a distinct style. He includes an extended about the author section, which I would like to read in full, because it gives you a sense of who this guy is and his writing style. He also includes a short about the author, but the longer one is better because it allows him to stretch his wings and to get really off topic, as is sort of something he does in this novel as well. Despite the fact that this is quite a short novel / novella. I'm not sure how many words, but it's not long. Despite that, he'll go off on all sorts of kind of odd tangents in it. Anyway, about the author, I quote, "I was born in a little town called Joplin, Missouri, October 6, 1956. He just flat out doxes himself. And 6 years later, my mother remarried and we moved to Miami, Florida with my brothers and sister. We were living in Miami at the time of the Muriel flotilla of refugees from Cuba in the early 70s and 80s, where we remained up into our adulthood. Then at the age of 17, I went and joined the army. I thought when I went in that I was going to Vietnam, but right after I joined, we had already started ARE, big pullout from Vietnam, and I was sent to South Korea, 6 miles from the DMZ. So just as an aside, I'm probably not going to read out all of his weird spelling. If I stumble over something while I'm speaking, you can safely infer that I'm trying to work out what he's written. Anyway, my MOS was 45M20, which meant aircraft armament subsystem repairman. I also note here he actually does use quotation marks. He just doesn't use quotation marks to denote speech. Well said in layman terms. I'm assuming this is layman's terms, but it's lament, like LAMENT. Well said in lament terms just means that I took care of all the guns and rockets on our gunship helicopters called Huey Cobras. After the army, I went to college for 2.5 years from 6 p.m, 12 p.m, 5 nights a week, and I worked during the day from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m, 6 days a week. The first book I really enjoyed in Korea was Jaws. I remember 2 things I really wanted to do when I got back to the US of A was to watch the movie Jaws. It had just come out about 6 months prior to me coming home. Also, I wanted to eat a quarter pounder with cheese with everything on it, McDonald's. Well, I got to do both of them. We had a 13-hour flight from Japan that landed in Oakland, California the day before I left. It was really neat. I went backwards in time. Then I met my future wife-to-be, Cheryl, and so he says her whole name here. I might not read out her whole name. Like, I know he wrote it in.
He wrote out her whole maiden name.
Anyway. Sure. At a party in Miami that I went to. Well, it wasn't long before we became an item and got married. I was 20 and she was 18. To this date, we are still married and we are going on our 32nd year. It wasn't
That's
long
awesome.
after our marriage that our firstborn came along. It was a beautiful girl and we named her... I'm not going to read his... He gives his daughter's whole name. I'm not going to read her name out. Then 2 years later, my only son was born. He was a strutting buck. We named him... What?
Strutting buck.
Well, then we migrated.
Strutting buck. Came out with a Giga Chad jaw.
Yeah. He was Ernst Kalamov, Giga Chad. Well, then we migrated to the Ormond Beach, Florida, where I had a hobby of making, in quotation marks, global economic equality and, quotation marks, foreign policies for years, but I never thought I would be able to use it for anything. But lo and behold, we went to war with Iraq and Afghanistan because of 9/11. I remember it was April 1, 2007, when President Bush came on the airway and was asking for ideas on the... Sorry, I just want to note, he keeps spelling ideas with a capital I, which is a thing normally only Germans do. But as far as I know, he's not German. Anyway,
Germans.
He was asking for ideas, capital I ideas, on the Iraq and Iran problem.
He's
At
really
the time,
into
Iran had 15 British soldiers hostage. Well, one thing for sure, I've always had an idea. Again, idea with a capital I. I'm a firm believer that a simple idea can solve everything. Well, I was lucky because my idea worked, and from there on, I gave about 50 more ideas, and I'm still going. Many of the ideas
handed out ideas to the
after
Bush
that.
administration for how to conduct the war in Iraq.
Shout out, best administration in American history. Then I wrote a couple of books I always wanted to write, but I never really got the chance to write them until recently. Well, I hope you like my book, Moon People and Moon People 2. I really enjoyed writing it for you. Thank you for your time and God bless. So, he sounds like a really pleasant guy. Sure, maybe he's a complete psychopath. He's just good at pretending to be charming, but he sounds nice. And that only made me enjoy the book even more. The fact that he's just an honest guy who likes science fiction and just went and wrote a science fiction trilogy.
He sounds also like an extremely wholesome person.
He sounds very wholesome. Very proud of his strutting buck.
Family man.
And his...
strutting buck of a son.
And his wife. Like,
down to 32
I probably wouldn't give the full names of my family, but Dale...
or at least at a high level, our location and our full names.
Birthday. Actually, at the very beginning of the book, it just has in like a large font, best sci-fi in 2009, and it's just not elaborated on.
Who said it? Dale and Courtney said it.
Anyway, actually, expectations going into the book. I've contextualized it using Dale Courtney's own words because he put it better than I could. What were your expectations going into this book?
I was thinking that this would be really bad, but also good.
It's sorry, like I'm interrupting and jumping down your throat. Levi has had COVID and he's feeling really tired, and so he's really in the mood to be given a book that I picked because I'd heard it was really bad. But it actually turned out to be pretty good.
It was, but I read the blurb or the Amazon description, and I just thought, okay, this is. I was thinking that I was a little bit worried that it'd be a conspiracy theory book. I was not really in the mood for a conspiracy theory book, and
I was worried about other things actually.
It's a harmless, it's just a really poorly written fiction book. Okay, it's fine. All right, let's do this.
What I was really worried about, because I picked it because I heard, it's a weird sci-fi book. It's kind of the sci-fi Eye of Argon. There's something about, I think this is self-published. It might be published by a small press, but I'm pretty sure it's self-published. But anyway, there's something about self-published sci-fi that attracts a lot of white supremacists. There's a lot of Nazis in space, but positively valenced in the self-published sci-fi scene. And so after I'd said, "Oh, we should do this book," I thought, "Oh shit, have I picked inadvertently a white nationalist book or a neo-Nazi book?"
Really could have been. It could have been,
and it could have been, and
luckily it wasn't.
Yeah, and so through this book, I was kind of nervous for when they board the alien craft and they'd say, "Oh yeah, we've been watching and loving human movies. Got a bunch of really good ones in the year 1943. We've reconstructed your civilization based on these."
And
it wasn't that.
I thought.
Shout out to Dale Courtney for that.
It was fine. It was. I was expecting it to be worse than it actually was. Like it was. It was pretty bad, but it made up for the lack of punctuation and so forth. We'll get into the actual content of the book, but that's what my expectations were going in. I just have one other bit of context. I don't he doesn't look like he's very active online anymore, but he does have a Twitter. That, assuming it's him, which I'm inclined to believe it's him, because it's Dale M. Courtney at Moon People Trio, and
that sounds about right.
And he only has 2 posts from 2009, and I really like him. He seems like a really nice guy, but I like that from his profile picture on X, formerly Twitter, he seems to have rented a billboard somewhere in Florida to advertise his masterpiece, Moon People 1, The Age of Aquarius. He seems to have actually incredible. At some point rented it, because there's billboards everywhere in the US. It's crazy. It's so weird going there, coming from a country that's not just plastered with billboards. It looks like at one point he may have actually rented a billboard and put Moon People on it.
I love that so much. It's
so shameless. So good.
Man knows how to sell. I can't talk shit because, again, he's outsold me by probably a fair bit. Way more people have rated his book on Amazon. He's written 3. I've done 1.
He's got 28 times as many likes as you. I mean, as many ratings as you.
This guy, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So my expectations going into it were what I had heard about this book that made me pick it, because I wanted something easy, straightforward, that we could do at a time where both of us are busy. We're not feeling like doing something really, really difficult. So Moon People seemed like a good idea. I was so I've already noted that I was sort of worried.
COVID, and Jack's currently infected with fatherhood.
Yeah. Early
my infection will be over a little bit sooner. It's still
the infection will outlive me. I've reproduced, but the thing is that
the goal
takes a very long time for a human to become semi-competent and not to
shit themselves all the time.
Not to shit themselves or start crying because they're tired and not be able to go to sleep because they're crying, which makes them cry more. Anyway,
I feel like, yes.
Moon People was what I needed. Anyway, so I've already said that I was sort of concerned that Moon People would be white nationalist because it's a self-published sci-fi book written by an American guy. It wasn't. So
it already gets points for that.
Huge shout out to Dale Courtney for that.
For not being a neo-Nazi.
Yeah. I also picked it because I genuinely enjoy the Eye of Argon. I'm not being remotely ironic. I really liked it. I have read it again since.
I don't know why you liked it so much.
It is so good. No, it's so much literature is just polished and overthought to within an inch of its life or beyond its life. So it comes out dead and sterile and boring. The Eye of Argon is not that. It's so rough, but it's so vital and alive and fun. And that's what I care about. I don't ultimately read books to get through them and go, oh, fuck yeah, that was so well formatted. Or, man, that this spelling was on point. It's, sure, like, I will make fun of people if their spelling is really weird.
Mm.
But that's not why I read literature. I read literature for people like Jim Tice, who just are obviously having a good time writing and are writing something that feels vital. Moon People doesn't reach the same heights as the Eye of Argon. But those are lofty heights. Moon People, however, does, and as much shit as I will talk about it, Moon People gets the most important thing right, is that it feels alive. As weird as it is, it feels alive and not sterile. Anyway, probably another reason I picked it, and one of my thoughts going into it was that we've been doing more books that I actually want to read. The things like Georges Bataille or Ernst Junger. And that's fun, and there's a lot to talk about there, and I like doing it, and I want to continue doing that. But I did want to get back to our earlier days by picking something that's just bizarre. And I would like to bring a bit more of the just flat out bizarre things back into the mix. Definitely like to leave behind the neo-Nazism from the early days. I think that can stay in the past, but the flat out weird stuff, I think we need a bit more of. And we are going to be having more of it. We've made the decision to bring those in. So those were kind of my feelings going into this. Probably my biggest concern was that it was going to be boring. And it wasn't.
That's good. That's good to hear. It was extremely high paced.
The pacing, we'll talk about the pacing too. The pacing is very strange, but it is very, very
light speed.
It's both very, very quickly paced because he loves specifying numbers, particularly, so that the lengths of things, how long things take, the specific number of things. He likes enumeration, and he actually does enumerate at a few points just how quickly everything's taking place. So the main character, David, goes from being a high school science teacher to making first contact with an alien species and then taking part in an interplanetary war over a few days. It's
with 3 different alien species and humans.
It's funny that it feels very, very abrupt from the perspective of the reader. Yeah. But then he also makes sure that you know that for everyone involved, it's also really abrupt.
They're highly adaptive people. They've got an
incredibly adaptive
growth mindset. All of them, all the people involved are just rolling with the punches of, we're now in contact with an alien species. I guess we're friends now. Let's start trading.
Yeah.
No, now we're in war. We're at war with the traders' sworn enemies.
Yeah, with the Archons and the Thracians. I really like that one of the alien species is the Thracians. Throwback to the Balkans. So where should we start? Should we do a run through of the plot? At a high level.
At a high level.
It doesn't need to be blow by blow.
There's not a huge amount of depth to it. We're not going to... If we give away any spoilers, sorry.
Okay. I'm okay with giving away spoilers because before the story starts, at the very beginning of the book, he gives you a plot summary. He includes a short plot synopsis at the beginning, so you know everything that's going to happen. It's quite funny reading the plot synopsis, though, and then reading through it, because he does say, yeah, David's a science teacher, and then by the end of it, he witnesses a battle between the Paulines, the Archons, and the Thracians. And when you're halfway through the book, you think, wow, how's that going to happen? Is this something that happens over the course of the entire trilogy? How's he going to fit this all in? But the pacing is so abrupt, he actually does manage it. So I'm not sure it was intentional, but the fact that he lays out the entire plot for you at the beginning makes the book feel even weirder. There are just a lot of things with this book that are probably accidental, but all of them align in quite an unlikely way to make the book just keep feeling weirder and weirder and weirder. Anyway, so we've got our hero, David Bramer, who's a 45-year-old high school science teacher. And before he was a teacher, he was working for the government on UFO research, and he stopped this work 5 years ago because it was boring. And that, this is just thrown out there. Yeah, I was working on UFOs, and then I stopped. It was boring.
It was boring, so I became a high school teacher.
Yeah, went to Florida, became a high school teacher. You've also got Cheryl Baskell, so her first name is the name of the author's wife.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Good.
She's a restaurant owner in Daytona Beach, Florida. And it's 2048, and they've seen a meteor. Okay, so David hears on the news that there's a meteor approaching Earth, and the newscaster keeps saying, "Oh, but don't worry, we don't want to panic." But there's a 10-kilometer wide meteor pointing at Earth. But don't worry, it's ages away. It's, I don't know, he says like 200 and something days away. It's ages away. Don't worry about it. And basically, okay, how about I quote a few things. I'll quote his the meteor being spotted. David is on his way to the restaurant, like always listening to his radio. His favourite song is playing when there's an interruption in the broadcast on the emergency broadcast system. This is K92 FM. We take you live to NASA with a special report. This is Steve Slater live on Channel 9. Ladies and gentlemen, today NASA Observatory has spotted a huge meteor headed towards Earth at a high rate of speed, coming very close. However, NASA officials believe that it will not hit Earth. It appears to be the size of a small moon. They are also concerned about it hitting the sun or our moon. They believe if it hits any other planet, we should be all right, but NASA experts need to do some more studies and urge everyone not to panic. We're not sure about anything yet. What we do know is it's coming from the direction of the constellation of Scorpio at the tail area, heading this way, going approximately 60,000 miles an hour, and it's a planet killer! ! We repeat, please do not panic. Now we resume to your regular programming. David was thinking to himself, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this. Could this be the end of us all that everyone predicted?" There were a lot of religious leaders predicting the end of the world recently. The topic at the time was very frightening. He does a thing, actually, I just noticed that F. Gardner does.
Is it frightening or is it not frightening?
Okay,
should we panic or should we not panic?
There's a lot to unpack here. So one such thing is he does something that I've noticed F. Gardner doing, where he'll just kind of repeat the same piece of information over and over again. It's also...
Shout out to F. Gardner.
Shout out to F. Gardner. It's also, yeah, like you were saying, it's tonally inconsistent because he just keeps flicking between it's a planet killer, we're mega fucked, and also, oh, it's not going to hit us, don't worry about it. It's like another planet's going to intercept it as it passes through the solar system.
Smash into it. And
I'm not an astronomer, but space is really big, and the chance of a meteor just getting intercepted by, I don't know, Venus or something like that is pretty small. But this is fiction. Like he's allowed to do these things. It's just...
And when he says, "Oh, it's going to pass within 25,000 kilometers,"
that is really
relative
close
to the size of the solar system. That's pretty much getting trumped.
Yeah,
like getting grazed by a bullet in your ear.
Yeah,
that's how for a planet for a meteor traveling at 100 or 60,000 kilometers an hour. That's 10 kilometers across that, passing that close to Earth. That's the sort of meteor or asteroid that Earth scientists would be really worried about. What is it called? The Yeti mission or whatever, the people who are monitoring. No, SETI, not Yeti.
SETI for the searching for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Yeah, but there's also, I think part of their remit is to, unless I'm mistaken, is to also monitor for potential collision objects for Earth. They would be really worried about a 10-kilometer asteroid passing within 25,000 kilometers of Earth. I think they'd be like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. So this is... So the dictum like show don't tell is overused, and I think it's important to show and tell.
The moon is 384,000 kilometers away, so that's about 10 times closer than the moon. So like that's really close.
But what I was saying about show and tell, or show don't tell.
What about just tell?
Well, in this case, he's leaning a bit too far in the direction of tell, because he'll get to it. NASA and the President of the United States. I also note that the rest of the world doesn't exist. This is just America's game. This is just America's book. When they're in space, they keep communicating directly with the president and with no one else on Earth. So he keeps telling us that all of these people are mega geniuses and domain experts. David gets hired by NASA because I think their astronomer, because NASA's just got one, was in a car accident. And so they pick David and say, this guy's got it.
But they're okay. They're going to be fine. But they're just
we keep getting told that David is just this whiz bang astronomer and he's really good at what he does, but he keeps acting like a dumbass, and it's really jarring. The thing is, it's back to what I was saying earlier about how I actually enjoyed this book. There are so many strange things, but he's actually quite consistent with how strange they are, which makes the book feel very unusual. We'll get into why all of the characters feel like aliens. Actually, speaking of aliens imitating humans, the flirting between David and Cheryl is really good. Got a quote here.
I think I pulled out a quote.
In no time, one of Cheryl's waitresses came out with his breakfast. David ate pretty quickly. He put $5 on the table and went over to the door of Cheryl's kitchen and smiled. He looked at Cheryl and said, "That was one good breakfast." "That was sure quick," Cheryl replied. Then David said, "Yeah, I know." You know what? I've been coming here for a long time, and we never really got to know each other all that well. Do you think maybe that David seemed to be a little nervous? ? Well, I was wondering if you would like to go out with me sometime. Cheryl put a sexy smile on her face and said, I would really like that a lot. David put a big smile on his face. That's great. How about Friday night? Cheryl said, okay, that sounds good to me. Super, David answered, and was very happy because Cheryl said yes. I've said it before. I just want to reinforce the fact that there are no quotation marks. It's just a block of text. It's also, he ignores conventions like when there is a new speaker starting on a new line of text.
It's just
a block of text.
It's just a block of text, yeah. No quotation marks.
Yeah.
No new line. And no transition between when he's not in when it's quoting text and when it's not quoting text. It'll just be this is prose, this is speech when he's quoting speech and when he's not quoting speech. Or just prose speech just in one big block.
There are also a few points where I'm pretty sure he's misattributing quotations. There's one part where he just keeps ascribing all speech to David when I think he's talking to Cheryl. And it just sounds like David's it's just lost it. He's having a conversation with himself. There are also a bunch of other weird things. Later on in the book, he keeps switching between past and present tense, but he'll sometimes do it in the same sentence, and it's really jarring. I really like, though, how David as a character, by the end of the book, he seems somewhat psychopathic. He seems, or maybe sociopathic, because he seems kind of numb to any sort of social convention. There's a good moment where, so he gets called by NASA. They say, David, our astronomer's been in a car accident. We need you. He says, okay. He decides, like, he ums and ahs a bit and then says yes. Pretty quickly, he goes from being hired by NASA to being sent to the moon, Mars, and then I think Titan, the moon of Saturn. And it's going to be a 10-year journey. And this happens really quickly. It's just sprung on him, and he eventually goes, oh yeah, I'll give it a shot, whatever. Just up and go, leave behind Earth. But at NASA, he gets an assistant, Kim Moon, and there's this really good moment, I'll quote here, that makes David, okay, he comes across as this stone cold sociopath who's just trying to fuck with this guy. I quote, Kim spoke up and said, follow me. I will show you everything there is to know, Mr. Bramer. Oh, sorry, Mr. Bramer, like David Bramer is David. Just call me David. Okay, just call me Mr. Moon. No, I'm kidding, just call me Kim. Okay, Mr. Kim. No, just Kim will be fine. Gotcha. David smiled at Kim. Well, Mr. Moon, what's your assessment of this meteor? I just like that after like chasing this guy around and getting him to tell David, okay, I want you to call me Kim. David just goes, gotcha, and smiles at him and just calls him Dr. Moon. Mr. Moon, starts getting his name wrong immediately.
He's a charmer. He knows.
There are these moments like this where I don't know if it's intentional or not, but the author has constructed this character who feels slightly unsettling and slightly dangerous because he's so unmoored from social conventions. He's just to this guy's face getting his name wrong and smiling at him and screwing with it. Yeah, anyway, so you've got this meteor headed towards Earth. David's now working for NASA and he's going to fix it. And then the meteor disappears suddenly. And
with a bang of light.
Yeah, there's a flash of light and it just disappears. And this is another reason why this book feels like it was written by aliens observing humans, because no character in this book responds to things quite as a human would. They're most of the way there, but not quite. So, for example, when a 10-kilometer, quote, planet killer that I think David in his classroom using a school telescope decided had a 6% chance of hitting Earth. Like, if you genuinely thought there was a 6% chance of Earth getting just orbitally bombarded by a 10-kilometer piece of rock, you would be nervous about that. But they're fairly nonchalant about that. And then the fact that it disappears, David and Kim are really relaxed. And I quote, maybe we don't have to worry about the meteor anymore. So it just disappeared and they're like, all right, well, problem fixed itself. And then even better, the meteor reappears somewhere else, and to have reached that point, it would have to be traveling faster than the speed of light. And they're really nonchalant about that too. It's like, oh, I guess physics just broke. All right.
They must have been traveling at 4 times the speed of light.
Meteor's back. The meteor was traveling at 4 times the speed of light. It's weird, isn't it? It's just really strange. It was also, as you pointed out, the even if the meteor is traveling faster than light, the flash from the meteor, the light from that, is traveling at the speed of light. So you would expect it would take much longer to reach Earth.
Yeah, because it's a light year away. But no, there's something about the alien technology that imbues the light
goes
that
fast.
It emits to go faster.
They have
than
fast
the
light.
They have super light.
Yeah, anyway, the White House then calls and basically offers David a post as science officer, navigator, and astronomer for Lunar Base 1, which is this ship that's going to go to Mars and then Titan. And David just, he kind of tosses up whether to do it and then just decides to go. I like this. This is where one of his misspellings again just make everyone feel like complete lunatics. Because it's just imagining people communicating like this. So this is David. He's been offered the position and he's thinking it over and he's talking to Bud is someone who works at NASA. Keep me informed, could yeah. It would be my pleasure, sir, said David. Then Bud said, I'll catch you later. Yes, sir, I'll keep you informed and I'll let you know about the job too. Have a good one, sir. David hung up the phone and started to stare at the large monitor. Kim walked over to David and said, what did Bud say about the meteor? He couldn't believe it either, Kim. He also offered me the position of first science officer aboard the Lunar Base 1. Wow, that is cool, said Kim. What did you tell him? That I don't know and I would have to think on it, replied David. Hey, maybe we shouldn't tell anyone about this yet, okay? Gosh, replied Kim. I think he means gosh, but he said gosh like a G-A-U-C-H-E.
Yeah.
Gosh. It's just... maybe listeners don't find it as funny when we were both laughing when Kim said, wow, that is cool. Part of why I think both of us find it really funny is so many characters will respond to quite important news by saying, wow, that's cool. And then just kind of not.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Everybody just seems completely unfazed.
Yeah. By everything.
By the enormous world-changing events that are happening around them. Even the kids in the classroom are just like, wow, cool. Your new groundbreaking telescope that can somehow see far-off objects in high resolution in the middle of the day. That's cool. Anyways, we're totally
There are some
unfazed.
strange moments too where David gets to NASA. NASA the location, not NASA the organization. and they'll show him a telescope and say, yeah, this is the best telescope ever. And he'll say, wow, that's really cool. And look at it. And then he'll go back to his school, like his high school, and use the telescope there to do some more research on the meteor. It's also at some point, the school telescope is called Zeus and can calculate all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, this is my telescope. It's called Zeus now.
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to get Zeus in there.
Yeah. Oh, there's also this bit. So there's a build up. So the narrative is not structureless. It's just very weirdly shaped. So, for example, there is suspense being built up. There's a great deal of foreshadowing where David decides he's going to take this job as first scientist or whatever on Lunar Base 1. And the launch to the moon is going to be on Halloween. And this is bothering him. And at first he's keeping it to himself. And then some people from NASA will just say to him, oh, you know that rocket launch is on Halloween. Gee, that's a worry, isn't it? And David will agree with them. I think Cheryl worries that it's on Halloween too. So this just keeps happening. People just keep bringing it up. So there's clumsily building tension, but there is building tension. However, the launch just happens and it's fine, and the Halloween thing is just discarded, which is why I say the structure of the plot or the shape of it is just very odd. The ratcheting tension and then nothing. It's a waiting for Godot moment, but it also takes place in roughly the midpoint of the book. This nothing burger. Anyway,
before they get into space, can I go back? I'll wind back a little bit to the Cheryl relationship.
I was going to bring up his night with Cheryl.
His night with Cheryl.
I also like it. Cheryl's just discarded as well after the launch. It's like Cheryl's just gone.
Never to be heard from again. He says, oh yeah, call me babe on my interplanetary cell phone or whatever the hell. And then she just doesn't make another
David's appearance. Just stone cold. Like he strings along Cheryl, sleeps with her, blasts off into space and doesn't call her back. This guy's
one of the quotes I
liability.
pulled out, which I just liked. I don't know why. It just says something about it. Just liked. It goes, Then David looked at Cheryl with a serious look on his face and leaned into Cheryl, and Cheryl leaned in, and they kissed intently. Wow, what was that? Oh, I assume that was Cheryl who was saying that.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Wow, what
Wow.
was that? Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. No, it's quite all right. I really enjoyed it. It's just that I haven't kissed anyone in a very long time either. And I liked it a lot. Would you like me to do it again? And then Cheryl got a big, sexy smile on her face and said, I believe I would. She leaned in towards David and they kissed passionately for about a minute and then stopped.
Also, like, they stopped. I love that he specifies the amount of times they kiss for, and then he specified that they stopped doing it. He didn't leave it unbounded, like a lesser author would.
Yeah.
A lesser author would make the reader think, well, they haven't stopped kissing, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that
still
the rest
kissing?
of this book, David's kissing Cheryl.
In my head, I visualize two Sims where you can like control exactly what they're doing, and then they just abruptly stop doing it.
Yeah, they
just
abruptly
smooching for a
change
bit
your
and-
animation without any transition. What about this? What about this? This is it's just more evidence for my theory of David as just a cold psychopath. Him stringing along Cheryl before just literally flying away into space and not calling her. Cheryl said me too, and they left the beach and went to David's house, and they made passionate love for a very long time. The next morning when they woke up, full stop. They woke up staring at each other with a big smile on each other faces, and Cheryl said, I had the best time last night, and now you're going to leave me. Then David said, I know. Before, all I was going to just miss was my students, and no, I'm going to miss being with you. I haven't been with someone like you in a very long time. I had so much fun with you last night, and making love to you was so beautiful. I will remember it always. I just imagine two people lying in bed next to each other and saying this to just communicating in this way.
Have you seen The Room or any other?
Yeah, I have seen the room. The dialogue does feel somewhat like that.
Yeah, it's really stilted. It feels like the dialogue from a bad. My partner was recently watching a sci-fi movie or series about it. It was kind of like The Hunger Games, where it's some teenagers and there's something to do with a field of flowers taking over the world, and there's I don't know what it. Anybody knows the film or the TV series I'm talking about. And there's like a real strong Aryan thing going on where there's like some bionic upgraded people who like lose their ability to feel emotions and that sort of stuff. That particular series also there's this type of dialogue that you see sometimes in film where it feels mechanical, and I don't know if it's the script writing or if it's the actors or if it's a combination of both, where they're sort of talking like robots.
They feel like chatbots, actually. Every character in this feels like a chatbot, but not ChatGPT. Like one of the ones from 15 years ago.
Yeah, one of the hard-coded chatbots.
That's hard-coded to respond to history-changing events by saying, "Wow, that's cool." Yeah, so David blasts off into space, and there's just a picture of a space shuttle lifting off. There are a few images.
15 years ago. You were right. Sorry, I just clocked it. 2009 when you published this book. Oops, sorry. 2009 is 15 years ago. Man, how the world has changed.
Yeah.
We've only got
a simpler time.
A simpler time, yeah.
A simpler time when a man with ideas could just go to the Bush administration and tell them how to fix stuff.
And fix stuff. Yeah.
Listen, George, I've got an idea, he said.
He was probably pretty early on the self-publishing bandwagon, though, right? For
probably.
Amazon, no?
That's
maybe.
Trailblazer. Yeah.
Hey, he's pretty good.
Good on
And
it.
now he's an internet legend, and he's got a whole bunch of ratings. And guy hasn't done too bad for himself.
I mean, I keep saying this, but I just want to make it clear. I actually like this book. No matter how many problems I find with it, it's still really fun. It's still just
It's a fun book.
enjoyable
It is.
book.
It's a bit goofy. I think what he really needed, what Mr. Dale M. Courtney really just needed, is he just needed to edit it and not just do a one. He needed to
Just a one and done.
edit it a bit. One and done. He just one and done. You can tell a book is just one and done. A lot of F. Gardner stuff. Just pump it out. Bam. Next book. He's trying to write 30 novels a day, sort of thing. Dale M. Courtney. I feel like this is a bit of a diamond in the rough. And if you've just been given a little bit more love and maybe even just a page edit, not even a line by line, but just a page edit would have helped it. But you know what? It's got potential.
Would it lose some of its magic though?
Film. It would. I think it would. It definitely wouldn't become as notorious.
Feature film. I would only want this as a feature film though if the dialogue in the film were directly from the novel.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone touching this dialogue. I want it exactly the same.
And luckily, it wouldn't even need to be a feature film. You could probably get it done in about 15 or 20 minutes. It's so fast.
We just talked to Abby Lucas, who's a filmmaker. I feel like Abby.
Shout out to Abby Lucas.
Shout out to Abby Lucas.
We know you love sci-fi.
I know you're listening right now. I know you've got other projects, but I really think
we know
should
you're an actual professional filmmaker, but stop what you're doing and create Moon People, please,
there's
Abby.
No way she could have anything better to
You could
do than a feature-length Moon
cast
People.
Kevin Kautzman. Shout out to Kevin. You could cast Kevin Kautzman. And you could cast Brad Kelly as Mr. Moon.
No, Kevin Kautzman from Art of Darkness podcast. Shout out to Art of Darkness podcast. artofdarknesspod.com. I think that's it. I might have fucked up the website, but anyway.
At Art of Dark Pod.
Kevin Kautzman as David. Brad Kelly as literally every other character, including the aliens.
including the aliens, yeah. Including Cheryl. Brad Kelly as Cheryl. And Kevin Kautzman as David, just being a menace. Directed by Abby Lucas.
One can
funny.
dream. That would be...
One can dream. This is going to come after Killdozer. When they create their Killdozer.
I will empty my bank account to pay for the film.
To support them. Set up a Patreon. No, set up like a GoFundMe or something. We need to get Killdozer off the ground, and we need to get Moon People
off the ground.
Brad Kelly, every other character. Brad Kelly says to Kevin Kautzman with a sexy smile on his face, "Would you like me to kiss you again, Kevin? I mean, David." Just like a wig on. It's a big cheesy red lipstick. Sorry, I'll stop. Shout out to Art of Dark Pod. You guys are awesome.
David's now on Lunar Base 1. I want to note here, one of the things that is very odd about the pacing, and preface this by saying pacing's really difficult to do well. But one of the oddities about the pacing
becomes super earnest
is that most of this story is extremely abrupt. Like abrupt to the point where just everything's abrupt. It feels like there's no transition between anything. Instead, people are taking discrete actions and then just materialize somewhere else and are taking some other action. And it doesn't feel like there's actually connection between those two actions. It's hard to explain. But
what's the dippity? What's that weird toilet thing? You know, the toilet.
Skippity toilet.
Skippity toilet. Kind of has a kind of skippity vibe to it, where it's just all of a sudden people are just moving in a disjointed way in different scenes.
It feels like Gary's Mod movement, but plot movement.
It's the Gary's Mod version of narrative.
But okay, so most of the pacing is very abrupt, but every now and then he'll take a really long time to describe stuff that just doesn't need description. So, for example, when David is being shown around the space station, Courtney goes into quite a bit of detail on, say, the numerical way that they label rooms, or the plumbing of the space station, how David's phone works, including how the ringtone sounds, the number of ringtones the phone has, the length of the swimming pools on the space station. And then, and actually, here an important motif is established. So David is being shown around the space station by Lieutenant Courtney. And David just starts telling her that was one of the best briefings he's ever had. And then she'll say something else, and David just repeats that was one of the best briefings he's ever had. And then he has a briefing with Admiral Benson and tells Admiral Benson about how good the briefing he had with Courtney was. And I think this is the first instance of it. This thing where people just start congratulating each other on how good something was and just doing it at length, but oftentimes at really inappropriate times.
Yeah,
like, for example, there'll have been some space battle and they'll have seen alien species for the first time, and these aliens are like blowing each other's ships up and stuff. And they'll just start congratulating each other on how good a fight that was before doing anything else. The congratulating thing is very weird. I'm glad it's in there.
I do like describing the way this book feels as narrative Gary's mod.
Yeah.
I think that really does hit the nail on the head with how it feels.
Yeah, everything from including those eerie liminal space source engine environments that say they'll have a house, but it just feels alien and a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this feels like.
So, one of the big things, there's 3 images in the book. And the first image is as he takes off in the rock. So I'm looping back a little bit, but as he's taking off in the rocket, Dale and Courtney, as the author, just put a picture of, I don't know, it must be one of the Apollo missions or something.
Space shuttle.
Just taking off, space shuttle just going off. And it's just out of nowhere, here's an image of a space shuttle. That's what David was doing.
Mm.
And then as we get up to the meeting the aliens, and they find out what you want. So they're about to meet the aliens, right?
Mm.
And I guess what he's alluding to is, if you've seen Star Trek or Star Wars, any of those, where they, what do they say? Jump into hyperspace or whatever.
Something like that.
Something like that. They get these like flashes and a streak of, like beam, that classic scene. So that's what's been going on. And all of a sudden, one of them comes at them and it says, all of a sudden, the alien ship was right in front of the Admiral's USS Lunar Base 1. And it just puts a picture of the Death Star.
The Death Star.
It's just the Death Star.
And it's not, he hasn't like attributed
He hasn't modified it
to anyone.
Like
It's just a picture. It's just a picture.
It's just a straight.
It's just a copyrighted image.
It's like, yeah, that's.
This is what the alien ship looks like. It's just the Death Star. But these good aliens. It's a good Death Star.
It's a nice Death Star because this is
a friendly Death Star.
Because it's Galumpa. It's Galumpa.
The alien is called Galumpa.
Which
means...
so
I know there's a long tradition of goofy names in sci-fi books. Fine.
Yeah.
But Galumpa is particularly...
It's a particularly good... That's up there with Jar Jar Binks, man. Galumpa.
The Galumpa. I think it means star lion in the Pauline language.
Yeah. So these aliens that they interact with, Pauline, is that how you pronounce it?
I said Pauline, but
yeah,
I don't think there's any sort of standardized pronunciation for these names.
From the Paulines from the planet Cybon, which is a planet that's a cross between Earth and Jupiter, from From which constellation? Scorpio or something.
Scorpio or
Tail
something.
of Scorpio.
Oh, so like when you say cross between Earth and Jupiter, that's a quote.
Yeah,
It's like Earth and Jupiter mixed together. It's like what the aliens tell them.
It's kind of like Earth, but it's like the size of Jupiter. That's where.
No, but they didn't specify what Earth and Jupiter mixed together means, because
maybe it's an Earth size.
There are a lot of things that could look. Like, is it a planet size semi-gaseous giant?
Yeah. Or is it a rock? Is it a rock the size of Jupiter?
Mm.
In which case,
or is it a really little gas giant?
Is it a tiny
physically impossible gas giant?
The actual like proportionate amount of rock inside of this is just only the ship is actually in the inner core of the planet. It's been removed. Anyways, so they are just a friendly mercantile race of interplanetary travelers. And they're just capitalist pigs, basically.
They're space Americans. Because what they do,
they're space Americans.
They showed up and they're talking to the humans and they say, "Oh, we're really friendly, love you guys, we really want to trade." And they say they're really peaceful. They keep saying, "We're peaceful, we don't want to fight, don't worry about it." But they do slip in, if we feel like an alien species is pushing another one around, then we're going to intervene. And
yeah, no,
remember this was written around the beginning of like Afghanistan and Iraq were fairly recently initiated wars,
and this was written by
space Americans.
This was written by a man who did in fact give the Bush administration at least one effective idea, potentially 50 effective ideas,
Every single idea is just a drawing of Saddam Hussein's face and a picture of an atom bomb next to him. Or just George Bush in the Oval Office looking at these. He's like, I think the Iraqis are doing something bad.
It just starts mailing the White House pictures of the Death Star.
Start sending the White House letters with it's just like a picture of the Death Star with Saddam Hussein's face superimposed over it. George Bush's bedroom is just filled with these images. He's dreaming of Saddam Hussein on the Death Star until he finally invades Iraq.
And so with the interaction with the power lanes, I found really because he said specifically that, so Captain Tudmok or Tudmoke or Tudmoke, however you pronounce it.
I pronounce it Tedmoki in my head, but
Tudmoki.
But I think we can be fairly liberal with how we pronounce these names. I'm going to say Captain
Tudmoke because that's the most obscene. Tudmoke of the captain of the Galumpa said specifically that the Pauline really like potatoes and asparagus.
Okay, before we go into the first contact with the aliens,
so specific
because there's a lot to unpack with the first contact with the aliens, and a lot that is very worthwhile.
Is this a metaphor? What's up with the asparagus and the potatoes? Why do the Pauline like them?
I want to quote a section. So this is from before they meet the Paulines. So they're still seeing this meteor that was headed towards Earth has now reappeared and keeps disappearing, reappearing in different places, and it's heading for the human ship. And everyone, it's a common theme in this book where really, really concerning things are happening and people just start thinking about food. I quote, so this is a part that's special because he starts messing around with tenses and makes it really, really odd. And this is also happening while there is a meteor traveling faster than the speed of light that keeps just appearing in different places. And so David decides to get breakfast. He went into the kitchen and he noticed a large, what looked like a microwave oven with instructions next to it. The instructions said to call the kitchen and tell them what you want. Then they will send it to you through an air tube, which runs on an air system like the mailbox, and then you warm it up in the microwave. Also, he looked over on the counter and he noticed a good-sized menu. He looks through the menu for a minute and decides to try an order. He depresses the button on his uniform and pauses. He was going to try out his computer, working computer, I would like a cup of coffee and 2 fried eggs over easy with 2 pieces of bacon and also 2 pieces of buttered rye toast. Also, in my coffee, I would like 2 tablespoons of sugar and a little cream. Computer, affirmative. Please allow 2 minutes. Wow, that's pretty easy. And just like the computer said, it came in 2 minutes exactly. David went ahead and ate his breakfast and heads to the bridge. He arrives at the bridge a little early. And again, I just want to reinforce that he's spending so much time focusing on the talking microwave computer delivering him food in exactly 2 minutes and the specifics of what he wants, while a physics-breaking object is blinking in and out of existence and approaching the ship. It's really weird. And then Kim Moon calls from NASA on Earth and starts congratulating them. They'll just receive calls from people on Earth who'll start congratulating them on various things. I'll get to the bit where they meet the Paulenes shortly. There are so many weird things. So this is Kim Moon calling the ship. And again, it's still in the context of the physics-breaking 10-kilometer wide object blinking in and out of existence. I quote, "Then all of the sudden, Lieutenant Courtney said to the commander, 'Sir, we are getting an incoming communique from NASA.' Then Commander Kraft said, 'Oh, really? Patch them through to my comm, Lieutenant. NASA. Commander Kraft, this is Kim Moon here at NASA. We just wanted to say that was a picture-perfect launch. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Moon. We're on top of the world up here too. That's not all I called about, Commander. Oh, really? What's up? Well, sir, we have just spotted a large explosion a few light years from our solar system. We can't tell what happened, but it was bright. It was on the same heading that our meteor was on when it disappeared.'" There's something very, very special about how these people interact with each other, where they front load the completely unnecessary information and congratulations, and then get around to, "Oh, by the way, we noticed a huge explosion just outside the solar system." And they keep doing this because eventually they call NASA back and say, "Oh, yeah, by the way, that explosion keeps appearing and disappearing, then reappearing and is approaching us." And they'll just keep congratulating each other and talking about how good the view is from up here in space. Anyway,
there's a bit as well where he's like describing he's getting onto the ship, and I just like how he's just so nonchalant about being on the ship. Like, "Hey, look here, these ships even have weapons. We got a laser and missiles and rockets. Wow." It's just like mundanely, just sort of like, "Oh yeah, we've got he's like, we've got 2 basketball courts, we've got restaurants, we've got a cinema, we've got a laser," and he's like, "and we've got a little farm."
Yeah, that was a really good bit.
We got one little farm.
Was that still when they were on
We've got a shopping mall?
And it was being described to David that you've got this space station, which is basically a miniature city. With technology beyond our comprehension. And he just goes, "Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, nice. Yeah, good on you."
This is coming from the man who was bored by studying UFOs, so he became a high school teacher.
Yeah, I guess he probably has a pretty high level of stimulation required to get him excited.
Apparently he's just completely unfazed by all of this.
Anyway, let's get back to the point that you brought up earlier, where they meet the Paulenes. I really like how... So they make first contact with an alien civilization who are so technologically advanced that they can travel faster than light, and it's just not a big deal to them. None of the humans on board seem fazed that the aliens have technology that breaks our concept of physics. Just totally unfazed. David doesn't bat an eyelid. He just doesn't give a shit about it. And what the humans are really worried about, what Admiral Benson is really worried about, is what to feed the aliens, because he says, "Come over onto our ship. We'll cook you a feast." And the aliens in perfect English say, "Sure, no worries," because they speak English really well because they've been watching Earth TV for 50 years. which I really
he
like.
makes an explicit point about, yeah, we really like your television as well.
Yeah,
We like,
they,
we like
the
your
aliens
television.
really like, specifically American TV. I say specifically, so the
Space
author doesn't
American
specify
TV.
that it's American TV. However, Earth
Probably
doesn't
American TV.
extend beyond the United States in this book. So, really, it could only be American TV. Anyway, so from the Galumpa, Captain Tudmoki comes onto Lunar Base 1.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the crew on Lunar Base 1 have been debating what to feed the aliens. And I'll just quote, like, this is the most thought that goes into the fact that they have made first contact with an extremely advanced alien civilization. I quote, "When the Admiral arrived back at the bridge, he told Lieutenant Courtney to call the docking bay and ready the shuttle and set up our dinner right there by the landing bay in the briefing room. Contact the kitchen and go ahead and start setting that up. Admiral, sir, the kitchen called about a minute before you arrived and they want to know what they should prepare for dinner, sir. What's our choices, Lieutenant? Well, sir, we have just about everything here as we do on Earth. So may I recommend, why don't we have a couple of vegetarian meals and a couple of meat entrees, sir? Very good, Lieutenant. You know, I was just thinking maybe we should not serve any meat. We can have it ready in case they ask for it, but only if they ask for it. Okay, Lieutenant. Yes, sir, said the lieutenant." So that this is the biggest worry. Are the aliens vegetarians or not? It's a weird theme in this book where they'll start focusing on food instead of things that what I think normal people would be more concerned about. Like, again, like, you're going to meet aliens. Granted, these aliens are basically like humans, but they're 7 feet tall and have really long arms and legs.
Yeah, I'm
So-
thinking he's envisioning Elder, from StarCraft sort of vibes.
Yeah. But, anyways, the aliens don't mind meat. That's okay. And as you said, I've got to read this quote. This is a really good one. I mean, all of the quotes I read are good, but this is particularly good. So they're having a meal with the aliens. "We want to also thank you for this great meal. What exactly is this here?" "That's a vegetable we call asparagus. One of my favourites too," said David. "If you like asparagus, then I bet you'll like to try some of these. We call this a baked potato. We stir it up into a soft pudding, then we add butter and salt. Potatoes also grow well in space. I hope you will like it." Captain Tudmoki replied, "I believe I will try it." That's good. We have something like this on our planet. It's called stomage. What is this food here? It sure is good, Lieutenant. Dogmas, one of Captain Tudmoki officers, asked? Question mark. This is what we call it says this is what we call a desert on Earth, but I'm assuming he means dessert. This is what we call a desert on Earth. We usually eat our dessert after we eat our main meal. That particularly desert is called chocolate ice cream. Captain, how did your people learn our English language so well? Like I said earlier, we have been watching your planet for a number of years. Myself and all of my officers had to learn your language for this mission. Anyway, they start talking about Earth TV and how good chocolate ice cream is. It's just really weird. It's just so much of the strangeness of this book comes from the fact that none of the human characters feel like humans. They feel like chatbot automata masquerading as humans and are consistently like that. It's really weird. Oh, that's right. Just another little tidbit, a bit of world building. The aliens didn't video call the human ship because they were worried about computer viruses. I mean, I guess that's a 2008 kind of thing. It's 2008 mindset, not like in 2024 when everyone's got fucking malware on their computers from watching porn and no one gives a shit anymore.
I literally had somebody try to hack into my MyGov account for our US or overseas listeners. The MyGov, well, I mean, it's kind of obvious from the name. It's our government account, and for checking your, submitting your taxes and stuff. Yeah, I got a notification email. Why have we've blocked your account? You've tried too many attempts.
Yeah.
Man, is this the bloody Archons or the Thracians trying to hack into my account? Joke's on them. I've changed over to a passkey now, mother flippers. So now you're completely toast. I'm getting bloody hardware, keys and stuff. I'm suiting up cybersecurity. So I'm on board with the Paulians about this cybersecurity stuff. Sure.
The Paulians are very concerned about cybersecurity, which is like they're an advanced civilization. I bet they would be complaining about the fact that David doesn't use two-factor authentication for anything.
Yeah, it's like we can see you clearly are just using password 1234 for all of your accounts.
David is the sort of person who would just use the password 1234 and then,
he definitely would.
And then flatly deny that he's using it. He's gaslighting the IT department. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not using it.
It's on a sticky note on your screen. We can see it, David.
No, you can't.
Smiles at them.
Wow, cool.
Wow, cool.
David, your first science officer, and your password is password 1234. We've been hacked for the 6th time this month. We have no money. Someone in Belgrade has emptied out our entire budget. Oh, wow, cool.
We're literally being held ransom right now. Our entire
North Korean ransomware attack. David will start talking about what he had for breakfast. No, I really like
interplanetary hospital is being held hostage right now.
Oh, wow, cool.
Wow, cool.
Also,
I love David so much. I love it.
David's such a strong character. I also like this, that right after after Captain Tudmoki talks about his concern about computer viruses, he tells the human crew about the Archons and the Thracians. So they're two alien civilizations, and they're not as technologically advanced as the Paulians, but they're much more advanced than humans. They're way more. As expected, none of the humans seem very worried about this extinction-level threat, because the Paulians also note that the Archons and Thracians are extremely aggressive and just like shoot anything that moves. So what is the correct response to this? Admiral Benson starts congratulating everyone on a historic and educational meeting, encourages them to finish their meal, and then they start talking about eggplant parmigiana. He does not give a shit. He just met a hyper-advanced alien civilization. Those aliens tell him, oh, by the way, there are at least 2 more sentient life forms in the galaxy that are also very technologically advanced. They are potentially hostile. And he's like, yeah. How about that eggplant parmigiana, though? How about it? Congratulations on an educational meeting, everyone. Then the humans board the Galumpa and tour it, and they go to the Alien Museum. It's got an exhibit on alien races.
Is one of the great scenes of the book, really. I mean, there's not that many scenes, so it's go on.
They just agree while they're in the Alien Race Science Museum to start trading.
The Alien Race Science Museum.
An extended digression there to start talking about Archon scale measurements.
Yeah, the Archon, they're basically vermin. We're trying to eradicate them.
We've been watching Earth TV for 50 years. This is the point at which David should have asked.
Broadcasts from Germany.
By the way, which 50 years were those?
Yeah. They're only tuning into like AM radio and shit from the
We started tuning into the radio in 1930, It got interesting, maybe 5-6 years after that. That's where we got most of our ideas for the Alien Races Museum.
The Alien
They start noticing that all of the Paulines have funny little moustaches and keep Romans saluting each other.
So could we get the Archon or the Thracians perspective on this whole alien race war thing? No.
Well, you see, the Archons are involved in intergalactic finance, so you got to be really careful.
Wouldn't trust them as far as I can.
The Thracians, though. Okay, you got to understand that they're a diaspora people. Every civilization they're part of, they start dissolving from the inside.
David just nonchalantly.
Oh wow, cool.
Eggplant parmesan. Oh wow, cool.
he discovered hyper advanced space alien Nazis. Hey, cool.
This was actually a moon Nazi book. It actually was a Nazi book. Hey, Dale M. Courtney, we are on to you. We are on to you, friend.
If you thought
you could sneak it in,
all you need to do is do a Straussian reading of this book. You need to read between the lines.
It's Straussian.
This is exactly what Strauss wanted. This is exactly how he would have read Moon People.
You just read whatever you wanted to. Really.
By Straussian reading, I mean I'm actually just inventing whole scenes of this book. Anyway,
okay.
Admiral
Let's
Benson calls the president of the US and tells him about the Paulines, and the president is also just kind of unfazed. The president just goes like, "Oh yeah, strike a trade deal with them, whatever. Yeah, just do it."
Yeah, we did that in Afghanistan, right? And Yemen, what? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, the Afghanis loved our trade agreement.
and then the Archons show up, and I wouldn't say the humans are completely unconcerned.
Just remember, wait, check. Wait, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not bad interrupt. I'm just going to cut you off for a second. Just remember, it's the Paulines who are in the Death Star. Remember that the Archon, what are they called? The Archons and Thracians are coming to destroy the Death Star ship with the Alien Race Science Museum.
This is the alternate ending of with Star Wars.
With the tall, slender, beautiful Paulines who are definitely not Aryans.
Why do they keep doing that funny thing with their right arm? Says David.
As they walk into the ship, it's like...
they goose step onto the Galumpa.
It says, "Work shall set you free." David's just completely unfazed.
Yeah, cool.
Just completely goes over his head. I just want to trade. They've got really lovely uniforms. I don't know, so well pressed.
David's wondering how the Paulines managed to have such low labour costs.
So how much are you saying you built this amazing, beautiful 10-kilometer across ship? Now it really reminds me of that late 20th century film. What was that? I don't know. Wow, cool.
They take them to the theatre and try them for the Willers playing. Okay, let's start talking about what actually happened in the book instead of just claiming that Dale Courtney wrote about space Nazis.
It's a Straussian analysis.
Look, that's why people listen to us, for the Straussian analysis.
It just changes to the Straussian Club. Straussian Club from Hell.
Yeah. The Straussian book club from Hell, where we just make things up.
We just make things up. Just say whatever we want about the book.
I'm reading the subtext. Dale Courtney, because of his position in the US government, he couldn't say directly what he was thinking. Just needs someone with eyes to see. This actually does feel a lot like one of our earlier episodes. We've got pretty sidetracked. Anyway,
we're not exactly dunking on. We're not I like the book.
Actually, that's the thing. I actually did enjoy the book. So the Archons show up and the humans are just kind of unfazed. I do like your idea that this could be, the Paulines are the ones in the Death Star. I like the idea that the Archons showing up, they are actually the rebels from Star Wars. And then the difference between Star Wars and Moon People is the true ending, is that instead of Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star, that final scene where he's racing through those big canyons in the Death Star, and instead of him blowing up the Death Star, he just gets splattered by David manning the space laser. Who's just decided to intervene in an alien conflict he actually knows nothing about. Like, he learned about this conflict fewer than 24 hours ago. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to intervene. I'm going to violently intervene.
He spent most of that 24 hours thinking about food.
Thinking about eggplant parmesan.
And not engaging and taking entirely one side's point of view.
Yeah,
Even though they're the one with the alien race science museum.
In David's defense, they are the strongest side. They told him that they're the strongest. They told him that they're the best. And in typical David fashion, he just said, yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool. Wow.
He's a Galumpa man now.
I'm Galumpa. Second Admiral.
I'm Team Galumpa. Anyway, the Archons show up and start shooting at the Pauline Death Star, the Galumpa. It's actually looking pretty bad. So the Galumpa is actually way better than the Archon ships. So the Paulines weren't lying about that. It's blowing up a bunch of their ships, but there are quite a few of them. The Galumpa's outnumbered. And then the humans just keep sending the Archons messages in English saying that they only want peace while readying their weapons, which again makes me think that these are space Americans.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, no, we only want peace. We only want peace. We only want peace. Then you hit him with the space laser.
put like a nuclear
lasering them while telling them that you only want peace.
We only want peace.
They're the aggressors here.
We only want peace. As long as you comply.
Anyway, so the Archons fire on the human ship, and so the humans fire on the Archons. The humans destroy the Archon ship, which is pretty good. Like, the Archons must have just really fucked up their shield tech tree or something like that. If a species which is just not... This is just a nobody in the galactic scene shows up, destroys one of their ships, and then the battle's over. The battle is kind of anticlimactic because it's told in the same very detached way that the rest of the book is told. But anyway, the battle's over, and the Admiral Benson and Captain Tudmoki call each other. They start congratulating each other on a really good battle. I like that Captain Tudmoki acknowledges that there were a lot of casualties on the Galumpa. A lot of his people just died, but he seems pretty unconcerned and just keeps congratulating Admiral Benson. And then the book ends. Humans get Pauline space travel technology. We explore space and enter the Age of Aquarius, which I think is some astrological concept. I don't really understand the precise mechanics of what makes us enter the Age of Aquarius, but by some astrological, according to some astrological schools, we either are about to enter our enter ring or are in the Age of Aquarius, which is an age of greater connectivity, understanding, and space travel technology from the Paulines only helps us along that path. Anyway, good book. Very sort of strangely unsettling.
I don't know why it's got such a low rating, to be honest.
By people who just can't appreciate art. So people who they get too tied up with, I guess, the techniques of art. So yeah, the spelling's fucked. The formatting's fucked in this book. But spelling and formatting are tools. then that's not the end product. Like I said earlier,
It's about the experience.
People don't care about James Joyce because he was good at spelling. There are more important things than that.
Dale M. Courtney is the 21st century.
He's better than James Joyce.
James Joyce, yeah. I really like at the end of the book, he puts a picture of himself.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
this guy knows how to sell.
He's probably just a grandpa who's retired or semi-retired, just writing science fiction in his spare time.
Mm-hmm.
And now people on the internet are dunking on him. All of our jokes come from a place of deep love and appreciation for this book.
Oh, yeah, I recommend this book.
And I deeply disagree with the people online. I read a couple of reviews online. I really disagree with them because they trash Dale M. Courtney. And I personally really appreciate him. And I think it's a
Philistines.
God bless. They're all Philistines. Dale M. Courtney, where's Moon People 4? Where is Moon People 4?
Because I bought this book. I really should leave a Book Club from Hell approved review of it on Amazon.
Yeah, let's do it. Why don't we do that now? What do you reckon?
I also actually...
Because I bought this on Kindle.
Flicking through my notes, I've seen one note I made was David watched a little TV. And there's quite a few moments in this book where something really important happens and then it's followed up immediately with David watched a little TV.
I'm going to give this guy a 5-star.
Yeah.
What am I going to say? I'm going to say classic sci-fi. Classic
a book
sci-fi.
club from hell, stone cold classic.
Can't wait for Moon People 4. Come out. Help customers find the next book. Select an age. It's suitable for all ages. I don't know. The race science stuff might be a little bit, like bit above. But whatever.
the race science stuff that we just completely invented. We just described to it.
I really like that the Pauline as well just want to be friends. They keep on saying again, we just want to be friends.
We just want to be friends. I also like the fact that
does frighten some worlds, but we are not out to hurt anyone. We have also been monitoring your satellite communications and your television networks. We like your movies too. We just want to be friends.
I do like that.
Cool.
Yeah, upon coming into contact with an alien civilization, who are if you read between the lines, are saying we could squish you whenever we wanted. We've been watching you for decades. You had no idea that we were doing it.
They were hiding behind Pluto so that we would detect them sooner.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
They could have destroyed us. They have a Death Star. They could have just come down here and just blown us away.
And we did just watch them. So we met them. We heard their side of the story and then just saw them just blow away a bunch of
not
other
one
aliens,
but 2 alien opposing races.
Yeah.
So they are definitely the bosses in town now, and we will trade with them if we want. They literally are just
they're Space Americans.
They're Space Americans who are going to impose freedom on the rest of the world.
Yeah. They're the sort of aliens
free trade.
When they show up and go, we really want to trade. If we find aliens that don't like trading and are pushing around other aliens, and we can have a problem. That's the sort of alien race that you just go yeah, fine, we'll buy your shit, whatever. Just leave us alone, please.
The oil's over there. Yeah. Well, I guess in this case it'd be like space oil.
we have some things that you want, we'll trade, but we don't have anything you really want.
All right, let's wrap this up. I think we've gotten across this. Would we recommend this book?
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
So I don't know why I liked it. Maybe I've just been stressed out recently, man. I've had COVID and stuff. As Discord members would know, I'm resigning from my job and stuff. I've just been a bit down in the dumps. And this was just a nice, lighthearted, fun read by a guy who just loves sci-fi.
Yeah. It's extremely good-natured, which is really nice. There's not a shred of cynicism in here. He just loves sci-fi.
Except for the subliminal Nazism.
Yeah, apart from that. But I think our reading of the book might have been so Straussian that he wasn't even aware of the message he was conveying.
He was going to convey that. So we didn't actually ask the question at the top of the. We normally ask what was their problem situation.
I want to write a sci-fi book.
He wants to write a space action adventure series about moon people. Romance, action, and adventure ensue. What more could you want? Did David M. Courtney, did Dale M. Courtney solve his problem situation?
Yeah, I mean he's written 3 of these books.
Good work.
Good work.
How could this book be improved?
That's a hard question because, okay, so part of me really wants an editor to see this, or at the very least for Dale Courtney to just read over it and like iron out some of the spelling errors, to use quotation marks. It makes things really confusing. Maybe in a few sections where he's accidentally attributing all speech to David. It just sounds like David's talking to himself. Maybe fix those things. But at the same time, it would lose some of what makes it special if it just felt like a more normal book.
Okay, well, Jack, I'm going to have to totally disagree with you. I think if we're ever fortunate enough to receive a second edition of Moon People 1, The Age of Aquarius, the only improvement I want is I want him to do a pickle for the knowing ones and put all the double quotation marks at the end of the book. The end. Yeah, salt and pepper as you like, motherfuckers.
What about, okay, so once the book club from hell starts making millions of dollars a year, how about we commission multiple editions of Moon People? So one of the new editions of Moon People could be the normie edition, where you get a conventional editor to have a look at it, get a developmental edit, get a line edit, get a proof, just polish it up nicely. Then you can also get the Lord Timothy Dexter edition, where you go in and you just try to fuck everything up more.
Wouldn't it be amazing just to take all the books that we've had like punctuation and spelling error issues with and just release a Lord Timothy Dexter? We could have Dexter Publishing.
Turn up the knob on the weirdness. What sort of edit? Can you imagine approaching an editor and saying, okay, I want you to edit this book, but here's this little book called A Pickle for the Knowing Ones. I want you to edit this book in the style of A Pickle for the Knowing Ones.
Yeah, if we ever we're still on that grind, that content creator grind. We're coming up on 1,000 YouTube subs as of the recording. 900. We're nearly at 900 on YouTube. And
we'll round up. We'll round up to 1,000. We'll round up to 10,000.
The nearest.
We've basically got 100,000 subscribers. Just keep rounding off.
We're coming into 3 years into the grind, and who knows what the future holds. But if we do ever have anywhere near the success of like a CoffeeZilla or anything like that, well, that'd be so cool. But I doubt it. But hypothetically, if we did, I would absolutely love to like use our financial resources to do stupid stuff
things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Surely we could find at least one editor willing to do a Pickle for the Knowing Ones edition of Moon People.
Such little integrity that they will debase themselves.
It's not even about integrity. It's about how much effort that would be. That would be a huge amount of work. Can you imagine changing your brain to try to write something as A Pickle for the Knowing Ones? For people who don't know what A Pickle for the Knowing Ones is, listen to our episode on A Pickle for the Knowing Ones by Lord Timothy Dexter.
I think it's one of our best episodes, personally.
It was one of the ones I had the most fun with.
Yeah, and it's come up a number of times when I've spoken to people about it. They seem to find it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, shout out to Lord Timothy Dexter and shout out to Dale M. Courtney.
Shout out. Who else are we shouting out?
In the first instance, I hope
shout out to Ludwig.
So.
Shout out to Ludwig. Shout out to Phoebe. Shout out to Anthony. Anthony's he's one of the people on Patreon. I think he has a noise project and works as an embalmer. and liked his job, like embalming bodies. So
That's pretty interesting. Do you remember?
Shout out to Slime Man as well.
That dissections were pretty amazing. I wonder what it's like to embalm a body though.
I mean, you can ask Anthony. We have someone on the Discord server who has professional knowledge of what that's like.
Anthony's not come to any of the Patreon hangouts.
You should bully him.
I really want to know what it's like to embalm a body now. Yeah. Anyways,
we attract a special type, both as listeners and in particular as people who are willing to pay us.
Yeah, and just shout out to all the people who come to the regular patron hangouts on the Discord.
Yeah, especially that core group of Saint Marzano, Pavlik, Heilig, and Hieratef. And Billy. Billy shows up.
Billy occasionally, when he's got time. They're all busy with kids and stuff, man. I think it's amazing that they show up to the hangout with us for
with kids to reminds me. Shout out to Wizard of Piss Earth. He's shown up and has been giving sensible relationship advice to one of the teenagers on the server.
Wow, that's amazing. So healthy. Hey, I know we probably started off with a lot of very strong shit posting vibes back in the day. I hope that we've toned that down a little bit, but I think some parts of our Discord are actually really wholesome. I really like the lifting club part of it. So if you if you just want to hang out with some other people who like lifting stuff and also listening to weird book podcasts, we've got a lifting club from hell on the server, on our server. So and some of the dudes on there is super strong as well. So
yeah.
Anything else?
Good book. I would recommend it to people who can appreciate art as something separate from the techniques that go into art.
Yeah, for
it's short. It's cheap. I don't know if I would have started reading it were it not for this podcast, but I would have finished it even if I didn't have to finish it for this episode.
I feel like Dale and Courtney would give you a nice cup of tea if you went to his house. Just be super hospitable. So
What was I going to say? We've got some really cool stuff coming up. We've got some really, really cool people coming on the show for some upcoming episodes that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, shout out to our guests. Hey, especially the ones that we include in our absurd humor jokes. So
shout out to
Brad
the Art
Kelly,
of Darkness podcast.
Kevin Kautzman, the Art of Darkness podcast. And check out Abby Lucas's short film Voices. I watched it. It's really fun. Voices on Mileto. And that's all the shout outs.
I'm currently reading House of Sleep by Brad Kelly as well. I'm really enjoying it. I'd really like to get him on the show actually.
Yeah, could we do an episode on House of Sleep?
Absolutely. I'll reach out to him when I've finished the book.
Right,
see if he wants to come on. Anyway,
I'd love to read it if it's good. If you reckon it's a nice read.
It's a good read.
Dope. Let's do it. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
See you next time.